The college football experience, Wisconsin Badgers 2024 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, you can win up to 325 times your entry with their brand new Pick 8 sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Yes, they do have college football and college basketball action. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Yes, build your own betting model using their AI betting engine. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. Once again, that's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm.
Hey, this is Bill Romanowski. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience. Wisconsin Badgers on Wisconsin 2024 season preview episode as the Badgers enter this new Big Ten. Well, I mean, they've been in the Big Ten, but this new 3,000 team Big Ten begins. The 12-team playoff begins. All this season, it makes, I think, the college, it's like a breath of fresh air for diehard college football fans, in my opinion. But yeah, you got all this going on this season. Now, I'm kind of curious to see how Luke Fickell will do in year 2, but I'm also kind of curious to see how many times, if I were to do the exercise, would Wisconsin in the past 20 years have made the playoffs? I think it would have been a decent amount. We'll talk all about it, folks. YouTube.com/the college experience. 134 team previews. Yes, 134 different team previews. Every single team in the FBS we are breaking down. Last night in the wee hours of the night, we released the USC Trojans preview. Go check that out. Yeah, we're pretty much wrapping up the Big Ten here as we get ready to jump into the Big 12, followed by the ACC. The SEC is already out. The Mountain West is already out. I am freshly back from Mountain West Media Days. I have coaching interviews. Those episodes will be dropping throughout the week as well. Yeah, we're rolling. If you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, my name is Colby Swig at Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
I love the great state of Wisconsin. The people are fantastic. Honestly, some of the minus the whole serial killer thing of like the most serial killers per capita. I find like
other than that, y'all are cool.
Great people in Wisconsin are fantastic. Chris Farley's from there. I mean, there's a lot of great things out of the great state of Wisconsin. Every comedian that I know from Wisconsin, normally always cool as shit, always tries to get you severely drunk when you do their shows. Shout out to my guy Tommy Gibbler. Shout out to my guy Nate Craig. Yeah, look, excited to talk about this season. That's why I brought on this guy. All right. He's the Barry Alvarez of SGPN, a lot of people say. Give it up for the DFS god himself. The rooftop IPA drinking, homebrew making, tobacco road living, the free lot giving, former in the Basketball League MVP. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be.
There we go. What's going on, man?
So what's going on, man? And Madison, Wisconsin does a fantastic Tecmo Super Bowl tournament each and every year, folks. Check it out. All right. But here we are. 12-team playoff looming this season. And I know I sound like a broken record on this, NC Nick here, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Why the hell would Wisconsin vote yes on adding in USC, Washington, Oregon, and to a certain extent UCLA?
Why?
Why? I don't like this. They had something perfect with a 12-team playoff. Had they not,
shit ton of money.
yeah, and a shit ton of mediocrity perhaps coming your way. I don't know. I mean, it's. I feel like, yeah, if you're Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State, you vote yes, right? But for teams like Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, Indiana, Rutgers, Maryland, what the hell are you doing voting yes? I think it's a mistake. I truly do.
Well, I think if the commissioner has a meeting with all the school presidents and ADs and all those important people and lays out the landscape of college football present day and the future, I think it's a pretty easy sell to convince people that the Big Ten needs to expand. They need to keep up with the SEC. They need to continue being one of the richest conferences in college football. And you do that by grabbing marquee programs in big cities like they did.
Well, I don't get they bring the head cold, but they're counting down 7-6-5.
I mean, Lou Holtz had something to say about that. I think
is there no longer a Big Ten West, which is an easy path to the Big Ten playoff game or championship game? Then that could hurt Wisconsin, but I still think you had to do it, and they're going to make a lot of money in the process, which never hurts.
I don't think you had to do it. I will push back. I disagree there. Like, I think they would have been like, okay, the SEC would have had 16 teams and you would have had 14, and they're still better now. You added 18 teams and the SEC is still better now. But
if you don't add those teams, then who does? Does the Big 12, does the ACC, does the SEC reach out to some of those teams? Those were marquee teams that were going to get gobbled up by somebody. If not the Big Ten, it would have been another conference.
Well, I think that the Pac-12 would have stayed. Actually, I think the Pac-12 would have stayed. And well, to me, like, all right, you've been a great program over the past 30 years for the most part. Good luck moving forward. Good luck, folks. We're going to talk about Luke Fickell and this year's team, but before we do that, I want to tell you that the Wisconsin Badgers on Wisconsin season preview for 2024 is brought to you by the College Football Experience and the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Yes, we're part of SGPN. Check out the Sports Gambling Podcast. They're getting you ready for college football with their conference previews. I'm on all those episodes. Go check them out. Tune in wherever you get your podcast or the SGPN app, which is free to download in the App Store and Google Play Store. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. All right, back talking Badger football. And where are you at with the with Luke Fickell? Now, I was questioning the hire a year ago. I did a guest spot where they actually thought I was a fucking idiot, which is fair because I am. But I think I looked pretty good year one.
Well, you can't argue with what he did at Cincinnati. I mean, he had that program rolling. He took over, just had one, bad initial season. And then, then 3 out of 5 seasons after that, they won double digits. They made the playoffs even and lost to Alabama in the semifinals. I mean, he did a fantastic job at Cincinnati. So I can see why he was an attractive candidate for Wisconsin. So I didn't mind the hire. I think after he got hired, it was interesting with his, decision to go to an air raid, which is just goes against everything that we know about Wisconsin football. Especially because he usually coaches, tough teams, and usually air raid teams aren't tough. It didn't work out that well year one, but a second year in a system, maybe there's hope that the offense clicks better this year.
Fair. And look, I mean, you shouldn't scrutinize a guy who's in his first, year two can always be better, but let's talk about this for a second. Cincinnati should have been going to the AAC championships with whoever they had as head coach. You look at Mark D'Antonio was successful there, right? Brian Kelly had 3 double-digit seasons, and had you had the 14 playoff, would have probably made it in 2009. I don't know. I mean, it's always stacked against you. Butch Jones had a two 10-win seasons there. Tommy Tuberville had 2 9-win seasons there. Now the wheels did fall off towards the end of the Tuberville era. But the only pushback I would say would be like coming into the AAC, they were some of the most talented teams each and every year. Like whether it's Fickell or not, you're in Ohio, you can recruit. Ohio's an underrated football state. So they should be in the mix each and every year in the AAC. So like, yes, did he get him there? And yes, he beat UCF a couple times. I think he was 500 against them, if memory serves me correct. But and Houston and UCF and Cincinnati should always be the three in Memphis playing for those championships. They did win those championships. But at the same time, I wasn't all the way sold there. Does that make sense? Like that year they made the playoffs. They didn't play Tulsa in the season finale in H.A. Chapman Stadium because of the COVID thing. And I thought they kind of got lucky personally. Like I thought the UCF undefeated team was better than the Cincinnati undefeated team to me.
I don't think you can really poke holes in the job he did at Cincinnati. But I guess your point is, is Cincinnati kind of coach proof in the American Athletic Conference, and what coaches from that conference have gotten a better gig and succeeded? Off the top of my head, I think Frost and Nebraska, who did not do well there.
Well, all the Cincinnati coaches, with the exception of Butch Jones, like Mark D'Antonio went to Michigan State, took them to the playoffs. Brian Kelly, went to Notre Dame and had success there. Now is at LSU. And then, Tuberville is depending on how you look at it, he's a senator now in the great state of Alabama. So,
but look at year one last year. I mean, they went 7-5 in the regular season. That's not a bad year one when you're completely changing. There was a lot of roster overhaul, and then you're totally changing the offensive philosophy and defensive philosophy. So, I mean, they didn't pass the eye test last year. I get it. They were disappointing. They were kind of a trendy pick to, maybe win the Big Ten West, maybe, flirt with 10 wins or something. And that definitely never happened. But I think if you're a Badger fan, you still have, hope, that this season is going to be even better and that the trajectory of the program's in the right spot.
Fair. Now, all I'm doing is playing devil's advocate with the Cincinnati thing. Fickell did a good job at Cincinnati. You can't say that he didn't, but I'm just saying like they've had a lot of success and they should be. If they were to remain in the AAC, they should always be in the mix based on the talent they have on that roster. And last year, though, they only beat one team with a winning record, and that was Rutgers, who needed the bowl win against Miami to have a winning record. So in a way, like regular season wise, they didn't beat any teams that had a winning record essentially. So
and some of the wins were not impressive wins. I mean, just you can look at week one over a bad Buffalo team. Did they win 38-17? Yes, but it's 14-10 at halftime against Georgia Southern. Again, very close.
They dressed that score up against Georgia Southern, man.
Right. And then even down the stretch where they got some wins, it was, an overtime win versus Nebraska, a 4-point win at Illinois. They didn't look good year one, even if they had a decent record. I'll put it at that.
Yeah. We got some graphics. They look weird. I don't know why. It's because they're color schemes. Anyway, Luke Fickell, 71-31 in 8 years. You can't talk shit about that. Now he is 13-13 in 2 years as a Big Ten head coach. NC Nick. People forget that he was the head coach after the Tressel tattoo shit. He went 6-7 at Ohio State in 2011. I almost think it's challenging to have a losing record at Ohio State now. Like.
That was a difficult situation, and
sure,
I don't put that past them. But I see your point as well.
Well, they haven't had a losing season besides that since 1967. So, should mention that. Phil Longo's the OC coming over from North Carolina a couple years ago. Mike Tressel, catch the name. Yeah, I mean, Luke Fickell. I'm intrigued about this year. I'm very intrigued about this year because, like I said, you're looking back and the chat's asking, is this a recap or a preview? No, it's both. We talk about last season. We do the same for all of our episodes, but like, yes, I mean, Their best win was a win against Rutgers, 24-13, and that was even kind of anyone's game. I think Rutgers threw like a pick 6 at the 1 yard line that went 99 yards the other way. That kind of changed the outcome of that game. But yeah, they lost to Indiana. They lost to Northwestern. They squeaked by Nebraska in overtime. So I don't know. I there's a lot of question marks to me moving forward with this this radical change in Madison. We do this for every team. Bad losses since the year 2000. And see, Nick, what is the worst loss out of these ones here? They kind of have a pretty damn good track record. It's like
losing to UNLV, even though UNLV was solid
in Madison
year,
too.
That's I don't recall that game. When was that?
That was like 2002 or 3 or something.
Okay, a while ago. But still, you shouldn't lose at home to UNLV. I mean, that's the worst one there. Other than that, I mean, there's not. I mean, I guess Fresno is G5, but they're a very good G5 team. So other than that, it's not too bad. But UNLV, come on.
Yeah. Let's continue on this. That's just what I'm throwing out there. Look, we're going to talk about the offense, the defense, the special teams. But before we do that, I want to tell you that the college football experience on Wisconsin season previews brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Pick 8's now live. Create entries with up to 8 picks. And Underdog will automatically double flex entries so you can miss up to 2 picks and still win your entry. With more picks to make and extra ways to win, the excitement is higher than ever. And the best part, you can win up to 325 times your original amount. You can now use specials and boost on all flex entries. So don't miss your chance to try it out before it's gone. I know it's dog days of summer. I'm playing MLB. I'm playing CFL every day. But they have college football and college basketball coming. Sign up. All right. When you do, sign up with the promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCE SGPN. We're also brought to you by Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. Yes, I was just staying at the Circa for Mountain West Media Days. Fine establishment, if I may say so myself. Circa Sports is back with Circa Survivor and Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. And of course, Circa contests have no rake. Circa Millions, pick 5 NFL teams ATS each week and compete for the $6 million prize, or survive the NFL gauntlet to claim the $10 million prize. Sign up in person at Circa Sports between now and September 7th and use a proxy to play from anywhere. We even have a deal with footballcontestproxy.com to save you $50 with the promo code SGP. And if you don't have a trip booked yet for Las Vegas before the football season kicks off, may I recommend Ultimate Contest Weekend. It's a great time to go out, and if you do go, you can hang out with my pal Stacking the Money Green and Real Money Kramer from the Sports Gambling Podcast and enjoy some of the open bar events at the greatest sports book in the world, August 22nd through August 24th. All right, we are back. Shout out to Lane Gretzky. Shout out to the whole chat. All right, everyone's
chat's rocking.
Yeah, it's rocking.
We got some Badger fans in the house.
Yeah, all in Wisconsin, man.
So don't be too negative.
Let's go, right? No, I'm not. Look, I don't even know how you fire Paul Kristen away. Can we talk about that for a second?
Gotten a little stale.
Well, so did voting all those teams in. Get used to being stale, all right?
I don't know if that's stale. I think that's anything that's different. It's the opposite of stale.
That's true. But get used to being. I mean, to me, I don't know. Like, you went from like being arguably like the 4th best Big Ten conference over the past 30 years. I think you like them and Michigan State can battle for Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. And then you have Michigan State and Iowa would be battling you for that spot where you could potentially make the playoffs. And now you're far down that fucking totem pole, man.
I still think with the right coach, Wisconsin football is going to be just fine. They're not going to, slip into total mediocrity. The question is Luke Fickell the right coach?
And the question that I was bringing up was, Paul Chryst had never had a losing season. You know what I mean? I know he won 7-6 his final year in 2022. But the year prior he was 9-4. Just bold. He was 7-1 in bowl games. Who the fuck do you think you are?
And he wouldn't be running the air raid.
That's true. And he did go to Texas last season. He was on Texas's staff that made the playoffs. But let's take a look at this offense. They were 91st in scoring offense per game, 23.5 points per game. That was 7th best in the Big Ten. Smack dab in the middle. 69th in yards, 381.2 yards per game, 6th best in the Big Ten. 69th in passing, 220.2 yards per game, 4th best passing team in the Big
hilarious.
Ten. That is. wait. I'm sure you probably had a lot of Badger fans sitting around saying, "The fuck is that?"
What's funny is that the team that's 69th in the nation in passing is still 4th in the Big Ten. I mean, that shows you about the level of quarterback play.
Dude, we had to preview USC last night, me and Patty C, and I'm like, I think that's one of the hardest teams to gauge because Patty C brought up a great point. He's like, dude, USC can score on anybody. So it's like, if they go up 21-0, are these games all over? like, it's worth asking that question with the quarterback play.
USC is on Wisconsin's schedule this year.
Yes. 61st in the nation in rushing, 161 point yards. When's the last time they were 61st in fucking rushing? 6th best in the Big Ten, still on the top half, but barely. What jumps out to you most there? Is the passing?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're an air raid team, you should have a better passing approach in that. I think they tried to pass the ball heavy the first half of the season, and then they realized that they need to run the ball more because the passing wasn't all that effective. But especially when you have Braylon Allen, I mean, he doesn't fit in the air raid. I mean, Braylon Allen is
and
they
hell
have
of a running back.
And they had a really good offensive line too. So it seemed like the offensive approach didn't match the kind of players they had, and maybe that's why the stats weren't all that great.
Which is fair, I guess, when transitioning to a different offense,
right? And I mean, Tanner Mordecai was injured for a decent chunk of the year too. So losing your starting quarterback, I think Allen missed a handful of games also. So they had some serious injuries to the offense as well.
Yeah, and Mordecai had a nice 9-4 touchdown ratio, which probably is like the best they've seen since Russell Wilson. Hey, damn, he threw 9 touchdowns last season. Unbelievable. But they returned 7 starters. The whole receiving core pretty much back. Bryson Green, CJ Williams, Will Pauling, Tucker Ashcraft, and 3 of 5 up front. Also, kicker Nathaniel Vakos is back. And in the portal, they lost a few guys. Nick Evers. I like how UConn just comes in and steals a couple key players. Nick Evers, former Oklahoma Sooner transfer.
The well-traveled.
Yes. Miles Burkett going to Albany to be the next Reese Puffenberger. Skylar Ball also heading out to UConn. Shamir Dyke going to Florida. I've actually heard that he might start at Florida.
I think it's DK. Well, he had a really good season 2 seasons ago with Graham Mertz.
Yeah. No, I prefer Dyke. I prefer Dyke. But
I think you spelled it wrong too. The D-I-K-E.
Did I fuck that up?
I think so. Yeah.
Damn it.
I was surprised he had such a quiet year last year because I think he is a pretty good receiver. So now he's reunited with Mertz down in Gainesville. I think he might have a pretty nice season.
Well, Tommy McIntosh is saying fire up chips. He went to CMU. Keontez Lewis to Southern Illinois Salukis. Dylan Barrett to Iowa State, Trey Wettig to Indiana, Nolan Rucci to Penn State. How about let's talk about that because 2 of those 3 guys are projected to start at their schools they transferred to,
but weren't projected to start if they would have stayed at Wisconsin.
That's crazy to me.
Or maybe I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess I can't say that statement, but a couple decent losses, but nothing. I don't think nothing too bad.
Yeah. Now they did go out and get Tyler Van Dimes, your boy.
Man, I was a big Van Dyke fan his freshman year. I thought he played great. I thought he was thrust into a tough situation and he was tough. He played winning football. And then the 2 years after that, he's regressed. So a change of scenery is definitely needed for Van Dimes. Let's see if he can get back to his form as a freshman because I thought I was very high on him after his freshman season. I don't know what happened.
I'm a skeptic.
I guess when you start trademarking nicknames for yourself, maybe that's not a good sign.
And I was a skeptic. This has nothing to do with Wisconsin and Luke Fickell here. I was a skeptic the past couple of years. Tawee Walker comes in from Oklahoma, Boomer Sooner. Tyrell Henry, a wideout from Michigan State. Joseph Griffin from BC. Jackson McGowan from LSU. And then you brought in some talent on the offensive line. Joey Okla from Illinois, Casey Pfeiffer from Cincinnati, and Leighton Nelson from Vandy. Yeah. I mean, I feel like the offense has just got to be a little bit better, but I don't know, man. Like, is this an upgrade at quarterback?
Well, apparently they weren't sold on Braden Locke, who did start a couple games last year when Mordecai got hurt, and that's
5 touchdowns, only 1 interception.
Yeah, but I guess Van Dyke is probably going to start. It's a great question. I mean, well, I think Wisconsin is an unknown team this year. A lot of it is because we don't know how the quarterback play is going to be. Is Van Dyke trash? Or I mean, he's shown he's had good games, so it's a big question mark. I don't know. I'm very curious to see how this offense is going to perform and Van Dyke specifically.
And this is, I mean, I know he's from Connecticut, so maybe he can flourish in that cold weather, but
what's your biggest concern offensively? Is it quarterback? Is it, I think the receiver group isn't great, even though a lot of those guys returned. Will Pauling is solid. I think running back, they're fine. And I think O-line, they're going to be decent too.
I think it's got to be quarterback for me. I'm not sold that this guy is legit.
What if they get really good quarterback play? Then what's the ceiling for Wisconsin, at least offensively?
Bowl game.
That's a ceiling.
Well,
Wow.
I mean, I don't think they're a legit contender to win the conference, even if they get great quarterback play.
But they didn't get good quarterback play last year, and they still went 7-5.
Yes, but also Oregon, USC, Washington, and UCLA were not in the conference last year.
Their schedule is tougher this year. I agree.
And they have a team called Alabama coming to Madison. Even if they get great quarterback play, there's a ceiling on best case scenario 9-3.
Yeah, probably. I'm to Steven's point in the chat. I think just overall, especially offensively, the talent maybe not quite there.
Yeah. Defensively, but before I get to defense, I want to tell you folks out there that the Wisconsin Badgers season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Rhythm. If you're betting on player props, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm is the go-to sports betting tool that transforms complex data into actionable insights, empowering bettors with smarter data-driven decisions. Unlike other platforms, Rhythm combines advanced predictive analytics with an intuitive user experience, making betting both easy and enjoyable. Rhythm's predictive models were born from the brains of MIT data scientists and quants with over 3 years of data to help drive you to better AI-backed betting decisions. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. All right, back talking Badgers. The defense, top 20 in score defense, but let me ask you, how much is that as all those shitty ass offenses in the Big Ten, or is that defense actually good?
Yeah, look at their schedule last year and name which team other than Ohio State had a good offense. And it wasn't even like the Buckeyes offense was that great.
No, it was not.
Either.
It was actually lackluster compared to most.
The best offense might have been Cam Ward and Wazoo when they were rolling early in the season.
Yeah, 20th in scoring per game, giving up 20.2 points per game, 6th best in the Big Ten. That's hilarious too. They're 6th best in the Big Ten, but they're top 20. 38th in yards, giving up 344 yards per game, 7th best in the Big Ten. 39th in pass defense, 7th best in the Big Ten, and 39th in rush defense, 8th best in the Big Ten.
I mean, other than the bowl game, the most points they gave up was 24, which happened on 2 occasions to Northwestern and Ohio State, both in losses.
But did they play any Ohio State? Okay, that's a good offense.
Kinda.
There's good players on that offense, right? They did have a lackluster year, but who's the best offense besides that?
Georgia Southern.
Probably is.
No, I mean, really. I mean, you got Rutgers, Iowa, Illinois, Purdue, Indiana, Northwestern, Nebraska, Minnesota, a bunch of trash offensive teams. That's why these stats are inflated here. I don't know how good Wisconsin defense really is, and they will be tested.
Who's the best? Cam Ward's the best quarterback they played. They lost by 9 there. Never even had the lead. Who's the second best quarterback? Kyle McCord.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, hands down. And then probably Davis Brin.
Because remember, even in the bowl game, they didn't play Jaden Daniels. They played Garrett Nussmeier. Yeah, that's unbelievable when I think about it.
So it's going to be interesting this year when we get to the schedule, and they do have, like that trip at USC. That'll really be a test of this defense. Are they really like a top 20 national defense, or are these numbers inflated?
Yeah, they do return 5 starters on defense. James Thompson's back on the defensive line, and a couple linebackers, Jake Chaney and Daryl Peterson, are back. Secondary also brings back 2 with Hunter Waller at the safety spot and Ricardo Hallman at the corner spot. Also, punter Atticus Bertrams is back. Yeah, I look, I'm a skeptic, man, on all of this. I'm a skeptic.
Well, it sounds to me like they have a really good linebacker group. Fickell thinks that's his best unit on both sides of the ball. He's really happy with his linebacker play. I think the DBs are probably a top half of the Big Ten. Now they do have some missing pieces on the D line, and so I think the D line is a concern.
Yeah, and in the portal they did lose some guys. Flamin' Libs of Liberty came in, stole a couple guys, Mike Jarvis and Aiden Vaughn. But Gabe Kirchik is out to Kreshik is out to Colorado State. Gio Pez to LSU. How about, some of these guys went to some big time schools, man. Jordan Mayer going to Penn State, Johnson going to A&M. Yeah, I'm curious to see how they all do this year.
In total, 14 players on the defense transferred out. That is, that's glaring. Like, what's the issue? Was this a bunch of holdovers that really didn't like the new coaching staff last year, and that's why they're transferring out now? But not only does that hurt, you look at some of those teams that they went to. So these players were in demand in the portal, and it hurts depth also. So this is a concern, losing that many. This is like if it was a brand new head coach coming in this year.
Yeah.
So it's kind of strange to see that many players depart. Maybe someone who's closer to the situation in Wisconsin can let us know what the hell is going on here. Why are so many players leaving?
Well, don't worry. They went out and got a bunch of FCS players. Brandon Lane from Stephen F. Austin, Elijah Hills from Albany. Watch out. Jared Verse was at Albany, and he was the best player on Florida State's defense last season. So watch out there. Also, go into the Tribe. Yes. William and Mary, John Pius. Coming in there. Leon Lowry, a linebacker coming in from Syracuse. Sebastian Cheeks from North Carolina, maybe familiar with Phil Longo. Tackett Curtis from USC, even though their defense was horrible last season, but maybe he's good. Jaheim Thomas, I know him. He is good. That is a nice get. RJ Delancey, the third from Toledo. Toledo had a corner taken in the first round. Yeah, you're right. They did also get they did get a corner from USC. I'm drawing a blank on that, but as far as I missed, that should be on this list. I fucked that up.
Come on,
but NC Nick, what do you make of this team?
I think defensively they're going to be solid, but I think talent in general on both sides of the ball, I don't know, it's definitely not top notch in the conference. And with a tougher schedule this year, it's going to be difficult to replicate what they did last year. So I'm looking at over under 7 wins. On the surface, I would think that they could do what they did last year, if not better, in year 2. But looking at the roster and the schedule, I don't know, man.
7 wins is that win total. YouTube.com/the college experience. You can watch this one. To win the Big Ten championship, they're plus 6,500. To make the 12-team playoff, plus 1,000 there. To not make it, plus minus 2,500. To win the national championship, plus 25,000. What stands out to you? And by the way, that the odds on the 7 wins, the overs at minus 105, the unders at minus 115. Is there one that just jumps out to you? Said I'm interested in it.
I can't touch any of the Big Ten champion or the national championship, obviously, or a 12-team playoff. So I think if you're going to bet Wisconsin, you probably look at the win total, 8-4 or 6-6. Which one's more likely?
Well, let's get to it. We're going to go game by game here. Yes, here we are. Week 1. The Western Michigan Broncos come to town.
Wisconsin currently favored by 24
This is
over
the JJ Watt Bowl. Anyway, continue. Yeah.
I kind of like what Lance Taylor did.
I
in
did
his
too.
first season at Western Michigan, even though their record it might not show it. I think just watching them, they did pass the eye test. I think that the team's going to be improved this year. But let's face it, they're not going to threaten Wisconsin at Camp Randall. So even though they did beat them back in 1988.
I like
Western Michigan won 24-14, but no, Badgers started off 1-0.
I call me crazy. Like I'm taking Wisconsin, but like I'm kind of. Do we know that? I don't think that game's going to be a blowout. Do you? I
think Wisconsin's going to win by 3 touchdowns at least. Do they cover the 24? I don't know. I don't know if Wisconsin's offense is good enough to cover that many points. So I think you could talk me into taking the points here.
I'll take those points.
Wisconsin wins by like 17-20 or so.
Well, after that, the South Dakota Coyotes come into town, and this is a team, FCS playoff team a year ago. Finished the season, I believe, number 3 or 4 in the nation. Bob Nielsen doing a great job there.
Their recent history against the FBS hasn't been great. Last year they lost 35-10 at Mizzou. Year before that, 34-0 at Kansas State. But they almost beat Kansas 3 years ago.
Yeah, and last season I feel like that game they got blown open late. But 2-0. Then Kalen DeBoer and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Roll Tide. Now I will say this. This is great. Like college. Thank you, Alabama, for actually playing some games on campus.
Right.
Instead of this, like for the past 20 years, college football suffered because they're like, let's play this game at NRG Stadium in Houston. No, this is better on campus. I could picture the fans. And I do believe one of these games, Wisconsin is going to upset and storm that field, but it's not going to be this one. Give me Bama to get it done.
Yeah, we've talked about it. Wisconsin, pretty cool if you're a Badger fan to see the Crimson Tide, the Oregon Ducks, and Penn State all at home. And we've said the last couple of weeks when doing previews or our weekly show that we think Wisconsin is going to get one of those guys at home. I don't think it's going to be Alabama, though. Alabama is 8.5 point favorite in the look ahead line. I think the Tide get it done here.
Yeah. So 2-1, they get a bye week on September 21st. Then they head to the LA Coliseum, take on the USC Trojans. And if you listen to the USC preview I did last night, I have USC beating Wisconsin. So I got them 2-2 after their first 4.
I haven't listened to that yet, but I kind of agree. People are sleeping on USC this year, and I understand why. Their second half of last year was awful. They have been very soft under Lincoln Riley, but I think they're going to be decent this year, especially at home. I mean, if you're Wisconsin, you love the bye, so the travel isn't that big of a deal. But I think Wisconsin's going to struggle to keep up offensively here. Give me USC.
The Pac-12 quarterback play last season, remarkable. We just saw Cam Ward leave, and he was the highest priced quarterback transfer. You know what I mean? Like everyone wanted Cam Ward, and he was on the 5-7 team. Shador Sanders, projected top 10 pick, was on a 4-win team. You look at Michael Penix's top 10 pick, Bo Nix top 10 pick, Caleb Williams first pick in the draft. To me, like the Big Ten has a serious quarterback issue, and these teams in the Pac-12 might be able to exploit that. I think USC is going to put it on them.
I tend to agree. So we're 2-2. We agree.
Now home to the Purdue Boilermakers. They have owned Purdue.
They've won 17 in a row. Yes, that is owning. Make it 18 in a row. What the fuck is
that?
Better luck next year.
Yeah, I will have the 3-2 after that. Right now they have back-to-back away games at Rutgers in Piscataway there.
5-0 all time, and they won at home 24-13 against Rutgers last year.
Dude, that game was close though, man. That Wimsatt 99-yard pick 6, like right before the half, was so brutal. You got to remember, like a touchdown in those games, in Big Ten West games, a touchdown is like 50 points. So when that happens, I got Rutgers beating them here.
Well, I mean, there's back-to-back roads at Rutgers, at Northwestern. I think Wisconsin needs to at least split these. I think they will split
fair.
it, but
I think they will.
I'm gonna give Rutgers the win, and then I'm gonna have Wisconsin getting revenge on Northwestern, who beat them at home last year. They go on the road and beat Northwestern.
Yes, and wait, is that game actually? Where the fuck is that? Is that Wrigley? I want to know where that game. Let me quickly
see if there is a destination for this yet.
Tell me it's at that. Tell me it's at the practice facility.
It says the Lanny and Sharon Martin
Yes.
Stadium.
Yes, dude. The air raid's not going to work there. It's not going to work. You're like basically on Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
Now I'm still saying they go 1-1 in that stretch, but they could easily drop both of those because you're not gonna be able to pass the ball. Good luck passing the ball at that. If you haven't seen the Northwestern field, they're playing a couple games at Wrigley, but other than that, they're basically playing on Lake Michigan. I'll still say 1-1 though, which then would put me at what?
4-3.
Yeah, 4-3. They are home to Penn State at Iowa. I'm going to make this statement: between Penn State and Oregon, they're stealing one of those.
Yeah,
they're stealing one of those.
On the Penn State preview, I took the Nittany Lions, but I'm going to cheat. I'm going to say they get that one, and they beat Penn State at home to go to 5-3.
I forget what I said on the Penn State preview, but I will say they just get one of those. Yeah, they're just going to get one of Penn State or Oregon. You pick it. Right. At Iowa, loss.
5-4. They're not beating Iowa. Iowa's strong this year. Hawkeyes have won 3 out of 4 over the last 4 years. They're not going into Iowa City. Nope.
Then they get a bye week and they're home to Oregon. I just mentioned this, Penn State or Oregon. The goalposts are going down in one of those games.
Right.
And so pick whatever. I got a 1-1 in that stretch.
Right. So we both are at 5-5 with the last 2 games, right?
Yes. And then they're at Nebraska.
Wisconsin's won 10 straight in this series.
Not this year. I'm taking Nebraska to get it done.
I kind of agree with you here. I think on the Nebraska podcast, I had the Huskers winning this. So I'm sitting at 5-6 right there with you.
And then they get PJ Fleck in Minnesota, the final game of the season. Now this is a 50-50 game, but since it's in Madison, give me the Badgers.
Golden Gophers have actually won 2 out of the last 3 in Madison. But I do agree with you here. They win that one and they get to 6-6 to just barely go bowling.
I actually like Minnesota's roster better than Wisconsin's. It's just in Madison.
Yeah.
But watch out because they could still lose that game.
So the over-under was 7. So we're both on the under. I feel pretty good about it. I mean, I feel
pretty good about it too.
I think Wisconsin can get to 7-5 again. I have a hard time seeing 8-4 with this tough of a schedule, with the question marks at quarterback and the offense in general. So I like the under here. I'm pretty damn confident in it.
Call me crazy. They only have 3 for sure wins on this roster.
Western Michigan, South Dakota, Purdue.
Yeah.
I agree. The schedule's tougher than last year, right?
Yeah,
we're definitely in agreement with that.
Alabama compared to Washington State.
Right. And then last year from the East, they got Rutgers, Indiana, and Ohio State. But getting Rutgers and Indiana from the East last year was nice. And then the normal Big Ten West schedule.
Well, yeah. And then you have USC on the schedule this year.
Yeah.
And Oregon. You're getting USC and Oregon.
And Penn State.
Yeah. Good luck. This is what I mean. You voted yes on this. I think there's a decent shot. They're 5-7. I think that, I said 6-6, but I also think I could see Alabama, USC, Rutgers, Penn State, Iowa, Oregon, Nebraska as all losses, and you're 5-7.
Fickell at least gets a third year though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
6-6
isn't the end of the world. He had a really good recruiting class coming in this year. But I think you're disappointed after a 7-6 season. You go 6-6, and who knows what happens in the bowl game. But I'm not too high on the Badgers this year.
Yeah, I'm not either. And I'm fascinated to see if, I guess the thing to watch is if they could, what's the best case scenario here? 8-4. I said 9-3 blindly in the middle of this episode, but now you look at the schedule. Best case scenario is what? They beat Western Michigan, South Dakota, Purdue, Rutgers, Northwestern, and they have 5 wins just like that. They upset Penn State or Oregon 6. They get Nebraska and Minnesota 7-8. 8-4 is the best case.
I mean, this team's not good. Yeah, they're not going to be any better than 8-4.
Yeah,
Unless Van Dimes becomes like a first round draft pick, you know. And even at that case, I don't know if he has the receivers to really make that offense go. So there's no way better than 8-4, right?
I agree. Which means that they're not sniffing the playoffs. So it's not worth taking a shot at plus 1,000 in there. Even if you're a Badger fan, I think, it's just pissing away money. Yeah, I'm on the under. I feel pretty damn good about it. I think you might hear this on the Locks Pod.
Yeah.
So folks, yeah. And that puts him, you say they wouldn't fire him. I don't think.
No, I don't think so. He deserves at least year 3. I mean, the wheels would have to really fall off and they'd be like a 3 or 4 win team. And then it would be questionable, but I don't see that happening either because Wisconsin is still solid. So I know there's a lot of Badger fans in the chat. I wish we could be more optimistic about this season, but hey, we've been wrong before. So who knows?
Well, and to my point, next season, NC Nick, they have games at Alabama, at Michigan, at Oregon, and home games to Iowa, Ohio State, and Washington. Have fun. You voted yes. Have fun. You voted yes. Get used to 6-6. Folks, that's our show. Give NC Nick a follow on Twitter at NC__NICK. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. The College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. Also, YouTube.com/The College Experience. Let us know your thoughts. Maybe you think we're full of shit, which is fair. But I will say, I was spot on last year with this fucking team. I'm excited to see how this year goes. So,
same here.
I got the UCLA schedule. The preview for the UCLA schedule is going up. We're gonna have the Bruins being previewed in about 5 hours here, or 4 hours here. Then later tonight, we will have the Washington Huskies, and that concludes the Big 10. Tomorrow, we start the Big 12. So get on over youtube.com/The College Experience. We're breaking down all these teams. And check out the Stadium Heads podcast. We love Camp Randall, Madison, Wisconsin. That's college football through and through. So as much as we're saying we're on the under and I'm a skeptic, Wisconsin does college football right.
Oh, yeah.
So check out the Stadium Heads podcast. Myself, Michael Barker, aka College Football Campus Tour, raving about how great Wisconsin and Camp Randall is. Check it all out. Also check out the FCS College Football Experience. You trust me. You're gonna want to learn about South Dakota. They're pretty damn good. All right. Also check out the College Basketball Experience. Badgers love Badger ball. All right. Since the days of Dick Bennett. All right. So check it out. College Basketball Experience. When the season goes live, we're live every single night of the season talking college hoops. But even right now, dog days of summer, Monday Line Mac doing all these great coaching interviews.
Colby still thinks that Wisconsin got cheated in the national championship game when they lost to Duke.
They did. Let's bring that up. All right. All right. Look, there's a reason.
A win is a win is a win.
There's a reason why they have that whiskey bar. When I was in Wisconsin, shout out to the fans that took me to a whiskey bar. I know Landon Renard is one of them. They took me to one that was like an episode of Deadwood where you walk in and you can have a bottle of Jameson. Like they just give it to you to pour. You know what I mean? Just
wow.
That's Wisconsin.
It's a
great.
I've never been to Madison, but I've been to Milwaukee. I'm a big fan of Milwaukee.
Yeah. And look, Trevor in the chat's with you. He's with me over here, not you. Coach K paid off those refs. We got hosed. They did get hosed. But check out the College Basketball Experience. Also check out the College Baseball Experience. Until next time, folks, this is the College Football Experience on Wisconsin season preview episode. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run,